hate them. They're the worst things ever.
Just Americans like me hate it and don't think they're necessary.
I think that it's taking a long time and I'm scared I'm going to miss the exit I need, and so I end up going maybe 2 or 3 times more than I need to.
Welcome to another episode of Retraction. I'm your co-host Antoine.
And I'm your co-host Jamie. We're doing an intro again? Like an intro?
I tried an intro. I just figured it would help with the it would help with setup. All right. So what I got this week is a little segment I think I'm gonna call Kill the Four-Way Stop. Why do Americans hate and or refuse to replace traffic lights and stop signs with roundabouts? What do you think about that, Jamie?
Have
you fallen asleep yet?
No, I liked roundabouts. When I was in Italy, I remember I hit a roundabout like every couple of minutes, and surprisingly, there was never any real traffic. There was never any stoppages. It was funny to us because we were so unfamiliar with it. Where the GPS was like roundabout, and we're like another roundabout. But I enjoyed it, and I wonder why we don't have more of them. We do have some in New Jersey. Yeah, there's not a lot. And then I remember driving around this region, which is really the only region I've driven around, the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, technically, I guess.
There's a few in New England towns, definitely.
But it's not common.
Not at all. And this is why, and this is the question I have. It's because they're efficient, and if you've driven in one, at least with people who know how to use one, you notice the benefits, and yet they do not appear in many places in our dear beloved America.
Is it like the bidet of infrastructure? It's like this European thing that nobody wants.
You know what? That would have been a better title. Instead of Kill the Four-Way Stop, let's just say, are roundabouts the new bidet?
There you go.
You think that'll work? That'll work? Okay. All right. So why do Americans hate and or refuse to replace traffic lights, stop signs, or basically anything traffic related that is designed to aid the flow of traffic as opposed to halting it? For a culture that loves to espouse how much we love cars, we sure hate to invest in anything that makes driving even the least bit more bearable. And the question is why? Why do we feel this way? According to the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration, roundabouts are a proven safety countermeasure because they could substantially reduce crashes that result in serious injury or death. Roundabouts can improve safety, they can promote lower speeds and traffic calming, reduce conflict points, lead to improved operational performance, and meet a wide range of traffic conditions because they are versatile in size, shape, and design.
Shape? Like oval versus circle?
Or multiple different types of interchanges.
Like a figure 8 type thing?
You could get something called a clover. You can get a clover style roundabout. You could get something called a turbo roundabout. By the way, listener or watcher, look that stuff up. Crazy. Blows your mind. Turbo roundabout.
Maybe we'll put a clip up of some cars going through one of those.
I got you covered. I stumbled across an entire channel that was just showcasing the various methods in which you could build an intersection and how the traffic would flow in each of those methods theoretically. So I got you covered.
Nice.
So just listen for that. Anyway, out of what I just said, let's focus on reduced conflict points because that really stood out to me. Approximately 22% of all car accidents involve a left-turning vehicle, and 53% of all cross-path accidents are the result of left turns. How many people do you think would say no to a solution that could eliminate a quarter of their problems? How about if I said this solution right here, this one, can eliminate half of your issues or make your life 50% better? Yeah, not many would oppose that. So it begs the question, why on earth do Americans hate the freaking roundabout?
Oh, I was going to say, I wonder, I know that you probably don't have this or probably national stats, but New Jersey largely doesn't let you make left turns. We have jug handles, which confuse people from out of the state. So I wonder if...
I think you're speaking from experience in the South or the mid area, because in the North up here, there is one route with jug handles, but the majority of cross traffic between towns, you're just making a left turn at a four-way stop with lights. That's what. So that I would say I've used a jug handle, having moved to Jersey and having lived here now for like 4 years. I would say I've used a jug handle 3-4 times, and yet majority of my driving is resulting in left turns at four-way stop traffic lights.
I guess that's true. They're probably smaller intersections, right?
Correct, which is the majority of what you're going to
Where
run
you're having,
through.
like you said, a four-way stop and not a traffic light.
Exactly.
The jugs
Or that, and the traffic light, yeah.
Because the jugs are usually, I don't know if I've ever seen a jug. Yeah, they're always at the traffic lights.
They are, but they're also off of like main interstate, like bigger throughways. But when people are crossing from town to town or driving within your own
Is
town,
a jug handle a type of roundabout?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it is, because it didn't come up at all.
Okay.
And it may only be because it's so regional specific, it's so Jersey specific that anyone who actually discussed roundabouts has no idea. They're just like you went off the you're out there. You're no longer within the realm of modern day constructing, and we can't really address every little eccentricity that exists within the fractional infrastructural state of the American highway system. So it may very well be if you were to bring it up to an engineer, but they would be like, well, who would do that? Why would you do such a thing? That's how I feel the question would be answered.
Fair.
Surprisingly, there isn't actually that much on this phenomenon. I did happen to find a YouTube video from 3 years ago and an article from a group called Well State Healthcare on the issue. First up in that article, titled, "Why Does the U.S. Hate Roundabouts?" And I'm quoting here, "Americans seem to prefer traffic lights and the false sense of security they give. Being told how to behave is a very safe feeling, even if that sense of safety is a false one, as a simple lack of awareness can cause a terrible collision at a red light. It's a hard pill to swallow, and most people don't like to admit that they take comfort in following directions, but the lack of directions given at a roundabout can make them scary."
But correct me if I'm wrong, with a roundabout, there's virtually no risk of head-on collision.
None.
Right?
Not unless you're drunk and you enter it going backwards.
Which,
I mean,
what it is. But
that's like saying I could shop and have a car crash through the window.
Getting hit head-on or getting T-boned in the way that you could at an intersection with someone speeding through or just swerving, that can't really happen on a roundabout.
Not really. No. It would go down to zero. No. It's next to impossible. Yeah. But that's all facts. You're spitting facts. This is not a fact-based debate. In fact, what they're alluding to here, and what you're also alluding to, is a little known thing called the availability heuristic. Have you heard of that?
No.
All right. What it basically is, it's a concise way to describe the mental shortcut taken when a decision is based on emotional cues, familiarity with certain facts, and the connection of vivid imagery. In the video I referenced from the YouTube channel called Cheddar, there is a section on this heuristic where the author uses some pop culture reference to explain this concept further.
First, the American detestation for roundabouts could derive from what is called the availability heuristic. This term describes the way people form an opinion on something based on the immediate thoughts or memories that are associated with it.
I implore anyone to check out the video in its entirety, but I will play some statistics on roundabouts from that video, so take a listen.
There are over 300,000 existing signalized intersections in the United States. According to the Federal Highway Administration, more than 50% of the combined total of fatal and injury crashes occur at or near these intersections. On average, over 10,000 people are killed each year in collisions at them. Yet, studies show that modern roundabouts reduce accidents by 38% and fatal crashes up to 90%. So why does the collision rate drastically drop? Well, the answer lies in the construction. A roundabout is a small one-way circular intersection built around a raised center island. Drivers must yield to circulating traffic as they enter and exit out their desired street. Because drivers are forced to slow down upon entry, the collision rate drops. They are no longer racing to beat the red light. Even if an accident occurs, injuries are less likely due to the lower speeds.
Exactly what I was imagining. Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, now that I've talked about infrastructure design with regard to curbing the behavior of motorists, remember I complained about getting a speeding ticket in a town whose main road was just a straight line all the way through? The road was clearly designed for traffic to fly at the maximum speed of the cars traveling on it. With a roundabout, as an example, you could break up speeding without having to rely on automated traffic cams just by the sheer fact the roundabouts themselves organically slow down drivers. I know you were saying that was just a ploy to get more revenue for the town. And in that event, if they want to, keep their dangerous practices just to earn a couple of cents, that's on them. But if everyone else around us who are more reasoned and elevated, high-minded, thinking creatures, a roundabout is a nice way to ensure the safety of our children, walking to and from school, for instance.
Well, it's an interesting example that you're bringing up the pedestrians, because my question was going to be, in a traffic, or what do they call it, a signaled intersection, you have pedestrian walks, right? So what do? Do you just move those walks up or downstream from the roundabout? Like, how does that work? How do pedestrians?
There are different ways. You could, a lot of European cities, what you do is you build tunnels so the pedestrians actually walk under the city street. That's the number one way of how people keep safe. You also, in that tunnel, because you have more room to work with when you're going underground. And again, we're not talking about like New York City, where you have a subway system running underneath, various aspects of the city. But if you're talking about your town, for instance, you would build like an underground that you just walk underneath the road. And on the side portion of that underground, you could also make way for bikes. So you could have pedestrians on the left side and bikes on the right, and neither affect the flow of traffic, and everyone stays safe because you have people far away from where the cars would be and the cars where they need to be on the road. So that's one way that European cities handle it.
Yeah. It's interesting because we have a lot of intersections, and to put a tunnel under each of those sounds very, very expensive. But
it's going to cost. There's no doubt about that. But what is the true cost?
What is the cost? Yeah. I knew you would put that. But what is the cost of lives lost?
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Yeah. I don't know. I guess when someone actually does the dollar figures, someone will say 10,000 lives. Gee, that's a lot. And then they're like, I don't know, $1 billion. 10 billion, 100 billion. What is it?
I don't know. We're always happy to send money off to war. So maybe, just a couple of cents towards, not letting kids get hit by cars on their way to school might just be more of a humanistic approach to spending our tax dollars. But that's just me. That's a small thing on me.
Is this all moot anyway? Aren't we going to have flying cars soon?
Oh yeah. Listen to the Billionaire Class. The trucks will drive themselves. The cars will drive themselves. Everyone just check out that the Tesla, Tesla truck, and that's coming along quite swimmingly. From this point, the video covers a lot of history and reasoning for why we don't have a lot of roundabouts in America. So there's definitely more on that. She talks about environmental benefits, cost savings, and maintenance. References the positive effects roundabouts have had since being implemented in several states and cities. But what I want to skip to is a portion of her last argument, the argument called awareness.
It comes down to awareness. Many Americans don't know how beneficial roundabouts are. Not only do roundabouts reduce vehicle collisions by 38%, they are also cheaper to construct, reduce congestion, and are better for the environment. Roundabouts save about $5,000 to $10,000 per year due to the reduced maintenance and electrical cost. They also improve traffic flow. Cars do not have to stop and wait for the light to change. One study of 3 locations in New Hampshire, New York, and Washington found an 89% average reduction in vehicle delays and a 56% average reduction in vehicle stops in areas where roundabouts replace intersections. Studies show that once drivers learn how to use them, their attitude towards roundabouts drastically changes. Community surveys where roundabouts were built shows that only 30% of people approved of them before construction, but approval increased to about 50 to 70% after they were built. So, while modern roundabouts may not be widely popular in the US, Americans are slowly coming back around to the idea of them.
slowly coming back around? I mean, I understand the pun, but
So in the video, yeah, so there is a little
them?
history where America actually, just like a lot of things, implemented the first type of roundabout, which was like called the traffic circle. So it doesn't really bear any semblance to a modern roundabout, other than the fact that it had cars going around in a circle, but they were stopped at various intervals via traffic lights. In fact, if anyone has been to New York City, Columbus Circle is basically one of the first implemented traffic circles in America. So that if you want an idea of how a traffic circle functions, that's how it functions. The problem is, in many of the places traffic circles were built, it did not alleviate accidents, whether it be horse and carriage, pedestrians, cars, because people were still entering at speed because they were trying to beat lights or getting caught by lights. And you still had the you still had the ability that you might T-bone somebody because of the nature of how a traffic circle operates, as opposed to the way a roundabout exists today.
Interesting.
Well, and then I wanted to buttress this. So the reason I wanted to get a little bit of the awareness in is because again, there's another video from CNBC that I didn't do a thing on that video, but a commenter, and I quote, said, this is at Nando7422. I live in Idaho, and the city I'm in started to build roundabouts back in 2018, and people were angry with the city was doing away with four-way stops. The last 4 miles of my commute from work to home used to take about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the day of the week, but has been reduced to about 6 minutes thanks to roundabouts. I feel people resisted them because we weren't sure how to use them, but now everyone praises them. And I was like, that couldn't be said any better. It's the awareness factor at the end of the day that I think hinders the building of roundabouts in this country. So it's just something. It's something to be aware of if you are in a town right now and you're like, wow, this sounds really good, and I would love to see more roundabouts in my area. What you need to get over is basically an awareness campaign. You need to get out there and basically throw down tons of facts on how beneficial roundabouts can be for the public good. Otherwise, you're going to get shut down with fear mongering and basically people who don't want to spend the extra money and are fine with the way things currently are. But I'm going to challenge you: 30 to 40 minute commute cut down to 6, which makes sense if you look at the functioning path of a roundabout. That's nothing to gloss over.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who's ever used one, you know that on at high volume times, you may have to wait your turn to get into the roundabout, but traffic is always moving, and it's nowhere near as long as a backed up light. I mean, in all of this reading that you had done for this, did you come across? I understand the emotional response. That's kind of what you started with. It's new, it's awkward. People have an aversion to it because they don't understand it. And God, it's like, no age would be immune to this change. Everyone's got to learn how to do it. And learn is in quotation marks. It's driving and it's fine. It's not a difficult thing to do. But there's one thing to not want to do it because it's new, but that doesn't negate the fact that it's better.
Right.
And so someone would have to think that it's not better. And then a logical person would then ask the question, well, why are they forcing this upon me? Why are they forcing these roundabouts upon me?
Mm-hmm.
What is their answer to that? Do they think it's like big roundabout coming into their small town to screw it up? Like, do you think it's money just being spent on municipalities and it's a way to pad the politicians' pockets and it's like a corrupt thing? Like, why do they think people want or people are trying to give them roundabouts? Like, what are they coming against? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think that the arguments against it are a little bit from all of the above. I mean, the answer is option D, because if you look, she did mention it in the CNBC video, which we'll link to a source in our sources on that one. They talk about how the current way that we've implemented our infrastructure for driving in terms of four-way stop signs and traffic lights is a lot more expensive, which means there's a lot more construction work that needs to go around. There's a lot more people in terms of funding, not funding, but providing electricity for stoplights, the maintenance of those stoplights. So you've got a lot of hands in that honey jar. You
Ah.
implement a roundabout, you're taking a lot of money out of those contracts, out of those contractors' hands, and jobs probably out of the people who are employed to fix and maintain all this infrastructure. So
That's like a reverse corruption. That would be, as a citizen, you're telling me, my argument as a citizen, which is an odd one to make, to say, no, I don't want to change because this new thing's more efficient and this old thing is bloated, but that bloat is their jobs. That bloat, but it's also more money, more tax dollars that could be going towards your school.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's nothing about it to where, because that you actually went in the opposite way that I was posing. There's no mentality that you just want to do a roundabout so you can, sign a contract or something like this. So you can spend money.
There wouldn't be any mentality with that.
Something.
No.
So then there's, other than it being awkward, new.
Correct.
There's nothing that is stopping people logically or emotionally from embracing this. It is simply an education campaign.
Correct.
On how to actually drive it, not
correct. Really
anything else. The safety, sure, if they think that it's unsafe. That's weird. Isn't it bizarre? And yet, isn't it interesting that there isn't that? Because then why would they? I'm sorry, I cannot get over why they think someone is knocking on their door and pitching them a roundabout to begin with. Why would they, every door-to-door salesman has a motive. They want to make money off of you, right? That's why they're there, and that's why you're skeptical. Buyer beware. What is the buyer beware of the roundabout? Why are they guarded? It's fine to say, I don't really know much about a roundabout. I heard they were unsafe, or I heard X, Y, and Z. Tell me more about it. I'm open. What is the aversion to it? You know what I mean? Why are they guarded? What do they think someone's trying to sell them?
I hate them. They're the worst things ever.
Just Americans like me hate it and don't think they're necessary.
I think that it's taking a long time, and I'm scared I'm going to miss the exit I need, and so I end up going maybe 2 or 3 times more than I need to.
Okay, first of all, that whole Chevy Chase in Europe when he's just caught in the roundabout and can't get out, or I'm sure there's probably a Mr. Bean episode of it. That is not a thing. That, you may miss it once if you're new to the roundabout, but luckily you don't have to go up the road 3 miles and do a jug handle or a U-turn and try it all over again. You just go around real quick. It's actually better for people that may miss their turn.
Mm-hmm.
But that still doesn't answer the question of, okay, so that's your response to, do you want a roundabout? But why do you think someone is pitching you this roundabout to begin with?
I don't think that's, yeah. I mean, I think you're asking an interesting question. I don't think that that's necessarily the question that, again, that when people hear about it, that's not what comes to mind. So, I mean, you're asking probably a question that no one is considering, that someone is saying, hey, I'm trying to get you to eat your vegetables because it helps you grow. We stop thinking that way, right? After you leave the toddler phase, after you leave that childlike stage of life, we no longer think that people are trying to give you something to make your world better. We think they're trying to give you something because there's an angle. Because a healthy level of cynicism comes with experience in becoming an adult. So you're right. I don't know how many adults necessarily say, oh, they clearly want to do this because it's just good for me. You have to prove it. And an awareness campaign is the only way to do it. Not to mention the fact that there is just generalized fear around using them. So
then they think, no, I hear you about the roundabout. I'm saying they're dangerous. You're just a moron for even wanting to do it. You're a fool. You're undereducated. You're ignorant because you want a roundabout and you don't understand what I know as a driver, what I think as a driver, because that's really what it comes down to. If you have an agency or a governor or whoever it may be, some professional, even in the infrastructure business industry, who's like, hey, we should be really doing roundabouts. And someone's like, oh man, it's going to add commute time. It's hard to use. And they're like, no, it isn't. And it's better. What is the counter to that? Yeah, you just want to make money. Is that it? You're just, again, big roundabout. You just want a construction contract because you do roundabouts. What is the aversion to learning about something, dispelling your assumptions, because these people have to know that they're assumptions. It's not like any one of those people you just played were like, oh yeah, I was on a roundabout in Europe. Couldn't do it. It's I heard, I feel, I think. It's not firsthand experience. So how can you be so definitive in your response, in your conviction, if you've never actually done it and not open to doing it?
To the availability heuristic.
Yeah. Maybe they should just start busing people to areas that have roundabouts or like a closed go-kart track. Just make a go-kart tracks, a traveling go-kart track roundabout. Wouldn't that be a cool campaign? You go to all your county fairs, your local fairs, and you get the big roundabout tent and it's for adults, and everyone gets to try a roundabout. Hey, you're going to have a roundabout on your referendum this election. Come by the county fair and give it a test drive.
Sounds like a great use of public money. It doesn't sound like any person of a particular party would have any issue with
all you have to do
money
is
to do something with that.
All you have to do is have a little fun. Drive on the go-kart.
Yeah,
heck,
but
we'll even put bumpers on it, folks. You can have some fun.
I think it's cute. It's a cute idea that will obviously never happen because people are going to say, why would you spend the money? So,
well, that's all I got.
And that's all I got.
Just don't understand. But
it's a quandary. It's a quandary. It's not sexy, which is why there aren't 82 million YouTube videos dedicated to why America doesn't have roundabouts. But this is just the way our world is. There's just a healthy level of mistrust in government to the extent where even if the government is clearly trying to help you, you will most likely reject it. And there's also, but I mean, I do think that we should not shy away from the innate, like the fact that there is definitely a vulnerability as an adult that people do not want to share or do not want to show. A lot of the derision toward roundabouts comes from feeling inadequate as a driver and not wanting to be embarrassed at the fact that you just cannot use them. And you're not going to go and retrain to get a new driver's license or anything like it. We're not going to make people do that, nor should we, because they're very common-sense. Like, it's a very common sense method of travel to use a roundabout. It's just amazing that there's just a lot of sensitivity towards and anxiety around doing something new in public as an adult.
I wonder if they associate it with parallel parking in the sense where
Very
they're
similar.
like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, people don't.
I don't want to be stressed out, embarrassed, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with this. Yeah,
similar.
And around
anyway,
and around.
So it's something. It's something. It's a shame, really, because I mean, we're both advocates of it, which is why here's the thing. In the comment section, if you have statistics that prove roundabouts are more dangerous, then and you can't come with costs because it costs money to put a man on the moon. You could always come. There's always something you could spend your money on in a different way. So you don't come with costs. But if you could come with real facts to say roundabouts are more injurious to society or hurt drivability in any way, shape, or form, I'm more than happy to hear it. But you cannot find it from any reputable source or even around. I was not able to find anyone with a roundabout video that was like roundabouts are the worst things in the world. It's all praise, just a resigned fact of they'll just never be used in America in the way that they should be.
Your car would probably be cheaper without seatbelts.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that's all I got.
All right, folks. Well, we got new clips out every week. Fridays are the full episodes. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And with that, around away we go to another retraction. Oh.